First of all, my name is Amiram, one of the co-founders and a CEO of Upwind. And very simple to put it, Upwind is a cloud security platform. We are spinning across like very important capabilities for security teams to secure their cloud infrastructure, going all the way from the basic stuff of vulnerability management and cloud posture management and identity security. It was here even before the call. As well as like the real runtime workload protection, which is just like Ari talked about it, which I love what they're building. The runtime, like protecting the EDR for the cloud, providing container security, host security, serverless security, and then going all the way to application security as well. Just a little bit about us. Upwind, pretty new. We're about a year and a quarter in business. Raised money from some of like the best VCs. We're the same team who built a company before that called Spot.io. Sold to NetApp. Really like very proud of building the market leader of cost optimization, and in like a very short time we were able to generate like amazing momentum with the industry leaders. And the real problem we're seeing and what we're trying to solve for is that the cloud is change everything. The way that we consume infrastructure, the way that we use the infrastructure, and the way that we secure the infrastructure. The first thing that we see is cloud is a self-service. So different teams can spin up resources, different teams can demand different services, which creating heterogeneous environments and applications or workloads and services are being deployed everywhere on containers, on serverless, on AI services, on platform as a service. And then security team needs to secure that. And then what we're seeing in the cloud, that security is really like shared responsibility, and we're seeing that is like spanning across multiple teams, all the way from security engineering, security operations, but also like the DevOps people are involved, as well as the developers with shift left security stuff. So why Upwind? Obviously, there are amazing, like, multi-billion-dollar companies, trying to solve these problems. So what are we trying to bring to the table? And it's really starting with runtime. Because runtime is like what happens after you deploy your applications. What the applications actually do, who they communicate with, who communicate with them, how they're accessing their data bases, how they're accessing object storage, how they're accessing other workloads, and basically know everything about this runtime information. But we don't stop there, because we're also aware that DevOps people, like, this is the output of the build time. Like we are, as enterprises becoming software companies, like releasing versions every hour, multiple times. And when you deploy versions multiple times, you're making a lot of changes to the environment. And these changes can yield to software supply chain problems, and different threats can get into your environment, and different risks can get into your environment. And being on top of that is something that you really need to marry and bridge the intelligence from runtime all the way to build time together. This is a completely different approach to how you see cloud security being handled today, because today we're seeing cloud security like either in one of these areas, like as we saw in the previous presentation, like it's like we either see that as like we're managing threats right now or managing risk right now, but in fact this is connected, because once you have the runtime data married with the CI/CD and the software lifecycle, you're able to understand what you run, really assess the risk, and then bridge the intelligence. And I want to show you how that looks. This is the Upwind platform. And when you get to the Upwind platform, of course, you're going to get your runtime map. And the runtime map, like, look how deep, how contextualized, and how simple it is for the security engineers, for the DevOps engineers, and even for the developers. This is my cloud visualized on a map, cloud topology. This is my real runtime environment. I see here like my AWS account or Azure accounts or GCP accounts, and see the level of granularity that like security teams can get here, that you're seeing like your clusters, your hosts, your serverless applications, all the way down to the workload and the application. And when I click on a specific application, I can see all the context all the way from layer 7, like what are the API endpoints that this workload is exposing to the world, how these API endpoints are being consumed, what is the even HTTP response codes, because I want to know what is the application, this application is doing, all the way to layer 3 and layer 4, of like what process exactly on the machine is generating the traffic, what is the ports that are being in use, and one is the protocols are being in use. And this is really important in order to really assess the risk, really understand who is doing what in my environment. Let me take you into one example of like how this intelligence of runtime and build time come together. Let's say like, I need to manage a vulnerability. Like I have a vulnerability that deemed as critical. And here, like if you go through a funnel, like you'll see out of all of my vulnerabilities, I have really 9 I need to solve. And then you're going into like, I'm a DevOps engineer or DevSecOps engineer or security engineer, and I see this Python LangChain vulnerability, and I see the resource using that vulnerability. I'll click on that resource, and I see the resource is running in production. I see exactly what it's doing, the API endpoints. I can assess the risk. I can see that it's receiving traffic from the internet. It has critical vulnerabilities. It's a bad thing. I want to fix it. And in order to fix it, I need to fix it on the image level, the way I built it. And with Upwind, customers can get a full topology map all the way from runtime, which is the right side, to the build time and the left side. So I can see the resource running, when last time it was deployed, when it was built, who built it, from which brand, who committed the code, and actually I can even get to the developer. I can see the developer who merged the code, who inserted the risk into my environment. And now I'm just like one click away from solving it because I know the person, I know the risk, I can assess it, I have runtime facts to defend it with. And this is like literally just the beginning of what you can achieve with Upwind. So I'll wrap up here and I'll just say that we see that customers are demanding a centralized place. And I think it's a market cycles, like in a cycle that we have less budgets available. We see that customers demand that. And we're here for the challenge of competing with the big guys.